DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline, show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is: are we more divided than ever? Are we more divided than ever? That's a phrase that you hear people using often. I'm going to get into it. We're going to dissect that and figure out if it's actually true or if it's not here today. Before we get into that, I'll remind you all of two things. First of all, my text message line number is down below in the description. Once we start sending that out again, you'll be getting that to your phone. I'll be talking about it a lot more. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the place where you work with me directly. That's the place where you have me as your direct coach. That's the place where you get access to all of our trainings, all of our courses, and you get to bring your challenges and questions to live conversations with me. That's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link is in the description. This topic: are we more divided than ever? This is a term that you often hear people using in politics. You hear a lot of mainstream media folks using this framing, and you hear a lot of people who, specifically since Donald Trump has been in politics, you hear his opponents saying this. Well, we're more divided than ever, and they try to blame it on Donald Trump or the presence of Donald Trump. And any of you follows anything in current events can confirm what I just said. So today we're going to address this phrase and find out if it is actually true, and if not, we'll find that out as well. And either way, we're going to figure out why. Why is this being said, and what exactly does it actually mean? So let's get right into it. Point number one. So the question is today, what we're asking is, are we more divided than ever? This is a question that we're trying to find an answer to. Okay, so point number one, let's answer the question. The answer is no. We are not more divided than ever. Here's what has changed, just so you understand why people feel like we're more divided. I think a lot of people do believe we're more divided. I don't think it's just a talking point. I think people really do believe this. Let me tell you what's actually happening. We no longer have a small handful of sources of information / facts / points of view as we used to. So since we don't just have a small handful of sources, then, because back in the day, let me back up. There used to be a few news TV channels, right? They would tell all of us what they thought, but it was only a few of them giving information to a whole bunch of people. Now, even if they had differing opinions, there were only a few sources. So let's say there are 5 TV networks giving out news, but there are 100 million people. Well, amongst those 100 million people, you only had 5 different ways of looking at things. I'm not saying people couldn't think for themselves, but let's just keep it very simple. You have 5 different ways of looking at things divided amongst 100 million people, because there were only 5 sources. Nowadays, you have 1 million different sources of people sharing what they have to say, and they can be going out to 100 million people. So now you can have so many different points of views, so many different pieces of information, so many different sets of facts that people are going off of. And again, we're not arguing amongst 5 different ways of looking at things. We're arguing amongst 1 million different ways of looking at things. And because of this, it seems like everyone is at each other's throats, because we can't even find consensus amongst a mass of people, because so many people can get their material from so many different places. So everybody's arguing about our perspectives, and the difference is we argued about perspectives back in the day. The difference is there's just so many more perspectives now than there were back then. So I consider this to be healthy, because in any solid society, there should be a counterbalance to any strong opinion. So any strong opinion on one side, there's a strong counter opinion on the other side. That's always been the case. It's when the strong opinions on either side of any topic get smothered, canceled, or not allowed, which is what's happening today, that's when we get real division. So is there some division? Yes. Are we more divided than ever? No. But there is still division. I'm not saying division has completely been eliminated. See, it's the stuff that you are not allowed to hear about, or not allowed to see, or you think it yourself, but you're afraid to express it because you're worried about what might happen. See, that's the real problem happening in society. It's not the division. See, when you can see and hear people disagreeing on a subject, you can see it, you can hear it, you can find it on TV, the disagreement, that's good, because it means we have healthy debate, healthy challenge, and there's healthy communication. Healthy communication does not mean we agree. Healthy communication means I can say what I want to say, you can say what you want to say, and if we disagree, that's fine, but we will disagree out in the open, we'll do it publicly, and everybody has a right to say what they want to say. Because in America, this is a land of free speech. So just because you and I disagree on a subject does not mean that you and I are divided. We could be friends and disagree on the subject. We can be friends and disagree on 70% of what we say about certain things, and we'd still be cool with each other. We just disagree on things. That's fine. This concept that we should all hold the same views on certain things is a false idea, and it has been perpetuated by the people that you hear sometimes referred to as snowflakes, because anytime they hear something that goes against the grain of what they want to believe, they just can't handle it. They get mad. They want to cancel you, shut you down, shout you down, not allow you to speak, kick you out of the room, get you kicked out of your career or fired from your job because you happen to have an opinion that they don't like. That's the division right there. That's the unhealthy discourse. The good news is the world that we're living in today, more healthy discourse is being allowed to happen. And the less we have of that, the less healthy discourse, the more divided we would become. But right now, I think one of the things we can say, the victory for Donald Trump in 2024 with apps like X, which is usually, not usually, but generally, it is the town square for current events, being owned by Elon Musk, who has outed himself as being on the MAGA/Donald Trump support side. This has actually been a good thing for society because it has kept any views that have over the last several years started to get tamped down. It has given them space to breathe and say what they want to say. Again, whether you happen to be on the Republican side, the Democrat side, liberal, conservative, regardless of what side you're on, you can't argue against the concept that Trump winning and Elon Musk running the marketplace of ideas when it comes to current events, both of these people being on the conservative side, this is good for healthy debate as I've described it. Now, if you don't think that's healthy debate, then that's a different subject. But if you do agree, then nobody can question this, again, even if you are not a Trump supporter. Point number 2, today's topic, once again, is are we more divided than ever? Number 2, in many ways, our ideas and beliefs are actually much more diverse, not divided, simply because of those additional sources of material and perspective. So if you want to push the argument that we're more divided than ever, I would just swap that word divided out with diverse. We're more diverse than ever when it comes to the way we think about things. Because in 1995, you had 6 or 7 or 5 TV news networks giving you information. So there were basically 5 different perspectives that people could have if they considered themselves, quote unquote, informed via watching the news or reading a newspaper. Nowadays, since you have a million of them, you have a very wide and diverse set of ways of looking at the world because you have so many different sources from which you get your information, and everyone has access to all of them. See, back in the days, well, for the most part, we all had access to, let's just say, general TV, like basic TV, not even cable, just basic TV. Most of us had access to that. But nowadays, all of us have a smartphone and we have access to many more TV networks or many more platforms, let's just say, through our smartphones at no charge whatsoever than what we were paying $70 a month for with cable TV 30 years ago. Interesting, right? And I guess if you want to call it free, but it's the time that we're paying and the attention we're paying, the privacy we're giving up for social media, we can include that in the unwritten cost, and also whatever the cost is of your phone, the cost for your data and Wi-Fi. But out of your pocket directly for the information, you're not paying anything. For the most part, people put this stuff out for free. Like this show right here, you're not paying to get access to this, at least not as of the date that I'm recording. So in many ways, again, we're more diverse when it comes to our perspectives. The people who incorrectly label this diversity as division, these people are just lamenting the fact that not everyone sees things the same way that they see them or the way that they want everyone to see things. That's why they're calling it division, because division makes it sound like it's a bad thing. But if I call it diversity, it sounds like a good thing, right? And diversity does have its place in the right places. It does not have its place in the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. Not a fan of that. I've already beaten up that horse and I will beat it up more in the future. But no, not that kind of diversity. The kind of diversity I'm talking about here, which is people having different perspectives and different angles from which to draw their conclusions. This is a good thing. I'm a fan of this. So the people who incorrectly label this as division, again, they're just trying to make diversity look bad. So they call it division. But those people who call it division, what they're really upset about is that they cannot control the sources of material that everyone has access to. And this is the reason why you heard people in the mainstream media after Donald Trump's electoral win in 2024 saying, well, there needs to be more regulation on podcasts and social media and independent platforms. The reason that they're saying that, not because they think that podcasts and independent platforms are out of control, it's because the more that podcasts and independent platforms build up their influence, the less mainstream media has as much influence. And again, this is where I explained to you a few episodes ago, going through the 5 stages of grief. The second stage is a stage of anger. This is when you get mad at the fact that some change has occurred that you can't stop from occurring. And this is where the mainstream media exists at as of the date of this recording. Maybe they've moved on to the next stage in the 5 stages of grief by the time you hear this episode. Probably not, but eventually they're going to move on. So when you hear people talk about us being divided when they are, or they are connected to traditional sources of information that have a strong hold on attention, that's what I'm talking about, what I just described. The problem is that attention is now democratized. See, they used to monopolize attention. Now it's democratized. So you can't unite people around a few ideas anymore. You could 30 years ago. You can't anymore because there are too many sources of information. There are too many people who put things out. Me and everyone listening to this episode right now could all put out some news on the same subject and we could have 100 different perspectives. And nobody could stop any of us from putting it out. See, that's the thing that people who traditionally have been in control, and there was only a few of them, they don't like this because, again, all the control that they had has been taken out of their hands. I understand why they're upset. I'm not saying they shouldn't be upset. I understand why they're upset. It's a matter of how long does it take them to adjust to the new reality is going to determine whether they last or if they don't last. Because this is a new reality and it ain't going back. That's the point. So you can't unite everyone around a few things, quote unquote, unite everyone around a few things. This is what the Democratic political candidates have been trying for the last 3 election cycles, and it only worked once, if you even believe it worked that one time in 2020, which is still, in my book, highly questionable what happened in 2020. But the other 2, we know they didn't work, and they were trying to do the same thing. Well, this guy's going to tear everything apart, and we're going to bring everybody together. Well, 2 out of 3 times it didn't work. And the one time it did, quote unquote, work, they had to do it with some shenanigans. So people ain't buying this. That's the point. Like, this is what I want you all to get. If I got any Democrats, any liberals listening to this, people ain't buying this anymore. This whole thing of we're going to unite us, because the way that's being interpreted is you're going to tell us what to think and we have to accept it. And anyone who doesn't accept it is on the wrong side and they need to get re-educated. People ain't buying it anymore. People have got a taste of freedom. You can't send them back to being in chains. You can't do it. Once people have tasted freedom, you cannot send them back. Jay-Z had a line in one of his songs. It said, once you've had filet mignon, it's hard to go back to hamburger helper. Right? It ain't happening. Right? This is where we're at. So this is a veiled attempt to shut down any dissenting opinions on certain subjects that people don't want to hear any type of pushback. They don't want to hear anyone offering a dissenting opinion. Let me give you an example. Remember when we had the COVID virus a few years ago? There was when people were divided about how to deal with it, right? That was a healthy discussion. We were divided. Like, we should do it this way. Maybe you should do it that way. Maybe this, maybe this. There should not have been just one voice or one way of looking at things. And there was value in dissent. We came to find out there was value in dissent because there were some people dissenting. There were a lot of people who were basically capitulating and following and doing what they were told. But we came to find out that that dissent was very valuable because we came to find out that a lot of the mainstream messaging we were given was bullshit. That putting a mask on was not going to do anything, and it didn't do anything. That taking that jab did not guarantee that you would not get the virus. And there are some people out there trying to push revisionist history that we weren't told that by people in authority. We absolutely were told that by people in authority on both sides of the political aisle, by your quote unquote scientists, by your quote unquote experts. Many of them said it, by the people running the Center for Disease Control. They said this directly out of their mouths, verbatim. If you take the shot, you will not get the virus. People were still getting the virus anyway. And then they changed the story to, oh, if you take the shot, well, you get the virus, but it just won't be as bad. Oh, vaccines don't mean that you're not going to get the virus at all. It means something different. Again, this is revisionist history. It was changed around because it allowed people to save face who felt dumb, who or otherwise would feel dumb. They probably still feel dumb if they had been hoodwinked by the nonsense. And we know that people got hoodwinked by the nonsense. So there should not have been just one voice or one way of looking at things. Dr. Anthony Fauci. So as we came to find out, there was value in that dissent. Politics is the exact same thing. If we all agreed on any one group or one person being in charge, that person would now have absolute power. And if they understand they have absolute power, then they would become corrupt because absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is the reason why it's good that we have multiple parties in America, even though there's only 2 of them. It's good that we have at least 2 of them because neither one of them can ever stay completely in control and stop the other one from existing. That's a good thing because it keeps both sides honest. And the interesting thing is they both accuse the other one of the thing that they may be leaning towards doing. So you heard during Donald Trump's campaign that if he wins, we'll never be able to vote again. He's going to be a dictator. He'll never leave the White House, et cetera, et cetera. All of that is bullshit. We know it's bullshit. But the people on the left side, they want to do the same thing. If they win, they want to block anyone from running. They tried to stop Donald Trump from running in 2024. All right. Do you pay attention to the news? All right. Now that was news that probably found you, even if you don't watch the news. So what people call division, quote unquote, is actually a system of checks and balances that keeps everybody honest. We want diversity of thought, diversity of opinion. And if you want to use the word division, go ahead and use it in the right context. We want that because the division keeps everybody on their toes and allows no one to get comfortable spewing bullshit and having it accepted. Because everyone, if you're putting bullshit out into the world, you should get called out on it, period. I don't care who you are. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is are we more divided than ever? This is a question. Number 3, this division term is also used to describe any perspective or belief that people have that goes against the grain of what the speaker wants people to believe. So whoever's talking, and I don't mean every single person, but people who want to block dissenting opinions. I am completely open to dissenting opinions. I do a live stream at 8 o'clock every weekday, Monday through Friday, on every platform that allows streaming. Last I checked, I was streaming on 7 different platforms at once. And when someone comes in the comments and has a dissenting opinion against anything that I'm saying, I'm open to it. And I will engage with them. I ask them questions. Well, what exactly are you disagreeing with? What did I get wrong? What are you saying? What part am I factually off, logically off? You don't like the way I framed it. What part are you disagreeing with? And I'll ask them, and I will engage with people in the comments and find out what part they're disagreeing with. And if I disagree with their disagreement or I find fault in their logic or in their framing, I'll explain it to them. But I'm open to it. I'm not sitting there like everybody has to agree with what I say and don't listen to me if you don't like what I'm saying. No, I want the people to disagree because it actually provides me a platform to further explain and further solidify what I'm saying and why I'm saying it when someone goes against it. As long as they can go against it with some level of logic and some level of reason. So people have always had unique opinions and beliefs and views on just life, period. Right? We're not a monolith. We don't all think the exact same way. We simply don't know about a lot of the differing opinions that go against the grain of what's been mainstream accepted because we only know about the people who we were physically in touch with, such as in our similar geographic areas, for the most part. Right? So if you didn't know somebody, if you lived in New York and someone in California had a different opinion, you may never know about it unless they were on TV or somehow, some way you met them. See, most people could not broadcast their message 30 years ago to the entire world. Now, everyone can broadcast whatever they think, anytime, to anyone, and you can do it from your couch. Therefore, we have access to millions of opinions. But there have always been millions of opinions. This is the thing. It's not like millions of opinions just popped up. People didn't just get opinions when we got phones. All right, we always had opinions. The only difference is now we can read and hear about everybody's opinion who we want to hear about. All the internet and technology has done is allow humans to express who we are to other humans at volume much more easily than we've ever been able to do it. That's what the internet has done. People did not all of a sudden become so different. Again, the people most disturbed by this are those who used to have a monopoly over everyone's attention, and they can basically control the message, and that allowed them to have a monopoly on opinions. Now that they've lost that monopoly, they're upset. And again, I understand why they're upset. I would be upset too if I was in their space. The goal then, if I was one of them, is to get over it as quickly as possible and adjust to what's actually happening. And we're going to see how long that takes. See, the people who started this whole concept of we are divided are those people who lost their monopoly. And they don't like the division amongst opinions or the diversity of opinions because that takes power away from them. That's why they started using this term. So when you hear this, now you understand why people are saying it. And again, we're not divided. We are not. We have the same amount of agreement and disagreement as we've always had. The only thing that has changed is that now you know about it. Now you can see it. Now you can hear it. Some of you felt this and understood it back then. Most people did not. Most people didn't even think about it. Now that I've explained it, now you'll understand it next time you see it and next time you hear it. So let's recap today's class, which is, are we more divided than ever? Again, this is a question that I'm asking and answering. Point number 1, the answer is no. We no longer have a small handful of sources when it comes to information, facts, and perspectives, which makes us, just gives us a wider base of things to choose from. We are much more diverse, which moves me to point number 2. In many ways, our beliefs and ideas have become more diverse, not divided. And people are using the word division to make it seem like it's a negative thing. But if you call it diverse, then it would seem like a positive thing. So it's just a framing thing. And it's a clever trick that a lot of people who used to be in power when it came to attention and opinions, they're using this to make it seem like putting them back in power will be the smart, rational resolution. But again, human beings are, as a whole, a little bit too smart for that. Again, once you let the cat out of the bag, you can't put it back in. Number 3, this division term is also used to describe any perspective or belief that people have that goes against the grain of what the speaker wants people to believe. So you're being divisive because you're saying something that I don't agree with. All right, that's nonsense. People have always had unique opinions and beliefs and views on the world. We simply did not know about all the unique opinions that were out there because it wasn't easy for people to broadcast what they thought. Now, because it's so easy for people to broadcast what they think, it's very easy to see who thinks what, how many different opinions there are out there. And it's easy for you to be a much more diverse thinker if you so choose to go looking for different ways of looking at things. Not everybody does that. But if you so choose to go looking, it's very easy to find it. All that said, folks, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Have me as your direct coach. Get access to all of our courses, all of our trainings. Get access to the live calls directly with me on mindset, strategy, systems, accountability for yourself, your personal development, and your business. That's workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all